Hasbro has decided to do a Haslab for their 375 or 3 3/4 inch new Tron figures. Is that the right call? We'll talk about it on this episode of Geek Dad Life. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special impromptu episode of Geek Dad Life. My name is Jay Gladfelter. And if you're new to this channel, hope if you like what you're watching, hit the subscribe and the bell so you don't miss it. But I felt like I had to do a quick video on the reveal at New York Comic Con today of the latest Hasbro Haslab, the Tron Heroes of the Grid 3.75-inch collector set for $260. If you hit 10,000 backers, it unlocks this set. And people that have watched this channel for a while know I have generally been a fan of the crowdfund releases or the different cool big items that probably would never hit retail shelves. And the toy companies like Mattel, Hasbro, even the small ones like Super 7 have utilized the crowdfunding angle to basically kind of fund something that the higher ups at a toy company probably would never approve, or a retailer like Target or Walmart would never have shelf space for or not want to commit to putting on their toy shelves. And so what's been cool about the crowdfunding angle is that it's given us sets that, are really neat that we probably couldn't have gotten otherwise without this crowdfunding model. But this set, out of all of them, feels like the most against that original intent of this program. And the thing is I'm such a huge Tron fan. I love the 3 3/4 inch scale, TVC all the way over Black Series. I have the vintage light cycles here. I've got the vintage figures, and the fact that these, which are small, like they're not gigantic, insane things. Like there's been light cycles over and over and over again on toy shelves. This feels like a shift. And I feel like I needed to talk about it here with you all today. I am doing this live, so there are people in the chat. I'm curious what you all are feeling. And again, this is a hot take. We'll probably talk about this, dive into this more on the big Sunday live stream. But shiny plastic people, why? Because that's why. Good to see Rodimus, Joey, Alpha Magnus, Pickle Pete, Tony. Love you too, Pickle Pete. Patrick, Retro Goat. I once was Mikey, Taith Nope, Rodney, hi everyone. Good to see you. Quip. Don't worry about it. Just kind of in and out on this one. We'll have space on Sunday to really dig in. George, good to see you. Max, good to see you. And so many more. Thanks for jumping in here. Because I'm just going to 3D print these vehicles. $260 is wild. Exactly. That's the thing. I can really, I'm having a tough time wrapping my head around this. And for those that have been like the harshest critics of Haslabs, they're kind of probably jumping for joy right now. The people that have probably profited on their channels off of like bad mouthing Haslabs, because they're like, well, this is just a slippery slope. And then we're just gonna, eventually have things that should be retail as crowdfund only. And they're jumping for joy now because they're right in this instance. Not wholly right, because I do think the dynamics of toy collecting today is shifted, and maybe Hasbro has not been on the best of footing lately, and maybe this is how they feel the only way they can make it happen. But doing it on the backs of a collector's dollar does not feel great. Does not feel great, because these should be like the retail releases. And yeah, make a recognizer, right? Do something cool with this slot. You have $260 to play with. Do something cool. And I'm not saying this isn't cool. I'm just saying I want to be able to buy these figures for, even if you want to charge $25 a pop. I want to pick and choose. Maybe just get one light cycle if I can afford it. In today's economy, where the dollar is shrinking and shrinking, and the value per dollar is shrinking and shrinking, and there's so many great companies making awesome stuff. Like I can't wait to dive into everything from New York Comic Con. That Donatello, painted Donatello from not Super 7, Mondo looks incredible. There's tons of more reveals to come. But it's wild. It's wild. Especially when we got a Ecto Haslab a year ago. That was so much more than this. A little bit pricier, sure. But like this ain't it. This ain't it. Right? Our quip. This is a great call. If Hasbro promised not to lay off people annually, I'd pay this price. Like, exactly. It'd be one thing if Hasbro was the stand-up, corporation that was standing by its employees and doing right by them. But no, they're laying off people left and right. Really high caliber quality people. And they're pulling stuff like this, and it just does not feel great. Right? And maybe to Rick Jones's point, maybe Tron just isn't big enough of an IP. Sure. That's a fair critique. But it's a movie. You have a movie coming out. Is it this weekend? When's the new Tron movie coming out? That's a bad sign if I don't know when it's coming out. I think it is this weekend. It's Jared Leto's fault. That's why. Because I do really love Tron. I have a Tron. I've had 3 vintage Tron arcade cabinets. I have the arcade 1-up one now. It's one of my favorite arcade games of all time. Love the movie as a kid. Love Tron Legacy. The Daft Punk soundtrack is one of the greatest movie soundtracks of all time, in my opinion. Okay, already out. Dropped today. So I get that this is probably just a marketing thing, and they probably don't even care if this thing backs. But if that's truly the case, then that's a shame. That's a shame, because you could have had these on retail shelves, and I think they would have sold. But this just feels too little, too late. And yeah, everything here is cool. Nothing here is bad, honestly, other than that it's a Haslab for $260. So let's take a look at what this thing is offering. Again, these figures look great. You've got Flynn, you've got Yori, you've got Tron, the man himself, and you've got the identity disc. You got the little streams that get attached to them. That's really cool. You got the kind of an army builder program, and then you've got Sark. Again, they look like they're jumping right out of the screen. They look phenomenal. And then you've got 2 light cycles that look really good as well. The fact that they are there pictures here? I thought there were pictures here. I'll go back to it in a second. But the fact that they can sit in the light cycles, that you can get these shots, I think that's great. The card backs are phenomenal. Like, they just look really, really good. No notes there. And let me see. I think there's pictures here of the bikes. Yeah, here we go. So the fact that kind of open up like a shell, and you can position, Flynn or a program or whatever in them, just like the movie, I think is really cool. And they look really good. But at the end of the day, it's what, 5 figures and 2 light cycles. So let's do that math real quick. Let's do the math. Bring up the old calculator. So let's say a premium 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figure is what, around $25? We'll round up. Is that about where it is right now? So you're 25 times 5, you got $125. So you're telling me this stand and 2 light cycles are worth, what is that, another $130, $140? And they're little light cycles. The light cycles should be what, $40, $50? Like, is that $50 worth? Let's see, 260 minus, $135. And we'll divide that by 2. $67 for 2 little light cycles. The original Tomy toy line was 3 3/4 inch. So I don't know how much bigger these light cycles are going to be than these 2 guys. Per light cycle, I know there's a stand in there, yada yada, but one of these is $67, $70. Like, ugh, not great. That's just a hard pill to swallow. And it would be one thing if you had a low threshold, right? Like, say, okay, it's a higher price because it is a lower MOQ, right? Minimum order quantity. That's where, you know, you could say some of the toy makers that do much smaller runs, all right? Like a Mondo. They're more expensive, but maybe they're making, we see it on the packaging, or NECA, it's like 2,000 of them, right? So maybe they don't think there's enough Tron fans out there, so they have a lower MOQ, and that's why we have a higher price, right? That seems logical. But that ain't the case. The minimum backer threshold for this is 10,000 backers. 10,000. So, and that's one of the largest kind of backer thresholds that we've seen. So 10,000 is not a low MOQ. That's a big order, minimum order. And I'm not saying that there aren't challenges facing the toy industry right now. I know that. You know, I have enough friends in the toy industry to know that, you know, factories are changing their rates. They're charging more. You have tariffs to factor in as well. I'm not deaf or blind to those changes and those things that are impacting the toy industry. I'm not. But at the end of the day, you also have a toy collector base that is feeling the pressures of the current economic climate. And something's got to give. And maybe this Haslab is going to be that thing that gives. How's it doing? I'm sure. I don't know Brian Brink if he's committed to making a chart for this. We'll see how like impactful it is. I don't know when this launched. Was it a couple hours ago? Hour or so ago? 163 backers right now. That's not looking good. It's not looking good. $2.6 million they can invest and sit on until these ships. Exactly. And the whole point of this model, at least to me, that the pitch you're making to the collectors is we can't get the funding unless you know, on normal terms. The budgets that are set aside we would never get that approval for XYZ thing. And it's usually something that's big that retailers wouldn't put on their shelves, or it's very niche. And while I agree Tron is more niche, you got a movie hitting theaters. It's being promoted like crazy. And there's no reason light cycles and 3 3/4 inch figures shouldn't be on toy shelves. Again, I'm sure there's a multitude of reasons. I'm sure there's perfectly reasonable reasons why they chose to do this. They're not going to tell us probably, but this one's tough. And I don't see this one being successful. So yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how this one plays out. But for me, looking at it, this one's just this one's a stinker. This one's a stinker. And just in terms of the initial reaction from the fans, it's not looking too good either. Because these are really neat figures. They're really neat figures. The articulation looks great. The likenesses look great. The light cycles, simple, but they look like what they look like in the movie. And the stand is really cool. So it's a shame that the choice of this model has been used for these figures and these light cycles, because we may never, these may never see the light of day. And that's a bummer. As a Tron fan, as someone that would like to see, you know, accurate 3 3/4 inch figures to go with my vintage Tomy Tron. And they can even like throw in translucent, you know, Tomy style ones, right? Like do all the regulars and do all of the, you know, translucent Tomy style for the same price. Like you already have the tooling done. But 260, that's a bridge too far. That is a bridge too far. Feels like the chat is feeling the same way. People that watch this after that, let me know down in the comments below what you think. You know, are you even remotely close to wanting to back this? Actually, let me see right now. Let me put in a poll to people that are here right now. And again, you know, these polls are not, they're imperfect polls. They're not going to be exactly, you know, the full collector sentiment. Are you going to back the Tron Haslab is the question I'm dropping for you all. Let your thoughts be known. But the fact there's only 163 backers right now, not doing good. And I feel like this is the sentiment for a lot of people, including myself. I want it, just not as a Haslab. I feel like that's it. Dave Wonder, good to see you, Davey. Man, put me in this as a big old nope, even as a lifelong Tron fan. Exactly. Like there's literally dozens of us out there. And if you're like $150, sure. You got a 10,000 MOQ on this bad boy. And if that's truly the state of toy making today, that they have to make this a Haslab for $260 and they need 10,000 minimum backers to even make it go, then the state of the toy industry today, not so great. Not so great. Like if this is all the canary in the coal mine, that a $1 billion toy company needs to charge $260 for 5 3 3/4 inch action figures and 2 small motorcycles, essentially, because they don't have the funds or the backing to do it themselves. It's not looking good, folks. Not looking good. So the poll is overwhelming. I'm going to end it now. The poll, we had 53 votes. 87% said no. 13% said yes. Again, if you're watching this back, let us know in the chat or in the comment section as well. Thank you, Video Power Gaming, for the super chat, $5. So glad you're streaming. Was looking for NYCC coverage. More to come. Quip and I will be diving into all the big reveals on Sunday. I'll also do a short video on the Donatello reveal. It looks so freaking good. And the Leonardo too. But they don't even light up the light cycles, right? Or at least the trails. I think the stand has an LED component. So it will have some type of LEDs, but and maybe it's here in the video. I'll play on that. I'll mute it. But yeah, missing out on things. Mason J might get 5,000 people to buy in, but I'll be shocked. I don't disagree. Johnny Cock, let me second VPG. Appreciate your efforts and coverage, Jay. Thank you so much, Johnny Cock. Appreciate you, my friend. But yeah, kind of a bummer. But there is cool stuff, and they unveiled their kind of 6-inch legacy line, Tron Legacy line. It looks all right. You know, I love Tron Legacy. Love the style, love the feel. But it's just this launching it this way just feels gross. Feels kind of gross. Especially when for Ghostbusters, and I know they're like the G.I. Joe style, but that Ghostbusters set was what, $50? And that's 3 3/4 inch. And then you had the Ecto one. How much was the Ecto one? Was it like $70, $80? People in the chat, let me know. But you go from, getting an Ecto one and 4 figures for, I don't know, all in, was it 100 something bucks? $65. Okay. So $115 for an Ecto one and 4 Ghostbusters. And with this Tron set, $260, 2 light cycles, and 5 figures for $150 more, thereabouts. Not the best. Not the best. Take a quick look at the 6-inch figures that were revealed today as well to kind of close out this Tron chapter. We've got the what is he? Rizzler. Is it Rizzler? No, it's not the Rizzler. Rinsler. Rizzler's that little kid. But who was originally Tron converted into the bad guy, and then you've got the Clue. Wait, no, Clue was Clue the Jeff Bridges bad guy, and then you've got Old Man Flynn, and you got his son, and it looks like you got a light cycle as well for the figures. It's the Rizzler now. Clue. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so you got those. Whatever. It is what it is. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe and bell so you don't miss any other of the New York Comic Con coverage. Like I said, we'll kind of do a couple onesie twosies and we'll have our big kind of recap of all of the New York Comic Con reveals this Sunday. I hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday. If you're watching this after the fact, let us know in the comments. I'm sure, the team at Hasbro are probably checking this video out and seeing your thoughts. So always be respectful, constructive. But yeah, I think this one is definitely a miss. So we'll see you all next time. Hasta luego and goodbye.